Now, it's very common these days for people to look for what's called refugium filtration. Now, refugium filtration can come in many shapes and forms. In the old days, you would put a layer of sand into a separate aquarium underneath the tank or within the system of the tank, where you'd either put some sand or some media such as marine pure, and then you'll often put a light on it, and the light is there to encourage the growth of macroalgae, and it's also very common for that light to be on at night time, so you get reverse photosynthesis and a bit of stabilization of oxygen and CO2. So that's a good idea. If you are going to look for a refugium for any size aquarium, it's really good for the refugium to be about 20% of the size of the aquarium. That's a very general statement, but the amount of room that a refugium takes up doesn't need to be very much. For example, that block of marine pure can do 600 litres of water, and that's a wonderful place for all your microorganisms and copepods and so forth to propagate and to seek refuge or feel safe. Another thing a lot of people will do too is they'll get marine pure balls and that hide it through the back of the reef. You don't need to see it in any way, shape or form, but once again, because it's completely porous, all your microorganisms are able to go in and through it, which means that those little balls become a little refuge in the back of the aquarium where all your microorganisms can grow. So once again, a refugium in the bottom of the tank does take up a fair bit of space and do need overhauls every now and then as they fill up with crap. Another option is the lights. So we now have algae reactor lights, and they're really efficient because they're super easy to clean. The contact between the light and the algae is absolute. You're not losing bleeding with light. It's a very, very efficient way of growing macroalgae. So once again, as your water quality improves and improves, depending on the amount of fish you've got in the tank, it's even possible that your nutrient levels in the water actually get too low to grow the macroalgae. And once again, that isn't the end of the world, because your aim is not to grow macroalgae. Your aim is to have a healthy tank with low nutrients. So if a macroalgae stops growing because there's not enough nutrients, you've got a few options. One is you can feed your fish a bit more if they don't look nice and fat and healthy, or you could even consider getting some extra fish, so they need to be fed more. But once again, the aim of the game is not to grow algae in your algae reactor. The aim of the game is to have a nice healthy aquarium where you have effective nutrient export and the growth of macroalgae, whether they be in a refugium or in a algae filter, are a very, very good way of doing it. The other thing to be aware of is that the macroalgae actually requires a lot of fertilizer, so iron-based fertilizer. So I would definitely recommend testing your iron level if you want to run these systems, because it's not unusual for your iron level to be too low to grow your macroalgae that you need in order to export the nutrients, the phosphates and so forth that you're trying to achieve. The iron can also bond with phosphate and fall out of solution too. So check your iron level, and it may be worth even putting on your dosing pump some iron, because iron may be the thing that's missing, particularly if your macroalgae aren't nice and green. A macroalgae food or an iron supplement may be the missing piece. Anyway, if you've got any other tips on refugiums, then put a little note on the bottom of this video. But once again, having something like marine pure in the system, where it can be a safe place for the formation of all your pods, is just a wonderful thing for your tank.